right, looks like we're live. So welcome back everyone after our term holiday. I'm Tim at the Tibetan Buddhist Society, Peaceful Land of Joy at our traditional temple. We're still in lockdown, as most of you probably know. Melbourne's, we've got more social distancing and so on. It's just Mckibben and myself here at the temple. So thanks for tuning in. So this is the 4 o'clock Path to Enlightenment class, where we continue our look at the perfection of joyous effort. So we start off with the prayers, as per usual. And we try to do a little bit of Tibetan chanting. Geshe always said this is the Tibetan Buddhist Society, so therefore we should do some Tibetan chanting. So starting on page 19 with the prayers, and praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, Tibetan and English, and refuge and bodhicitta in Tibetan and English. Tampa Chandindi Dijin Jepa Dachampa Yantapa Sopi Sanje Ripa Danjatu Dempa Dewa Shepa Jitin Jempa Jebu Dewi Telo Jawa Lana Mipa Lada Minaji Tompa Sanje Chandindi Paljawa Shatya Tupala Chatsalo Chara Tetsu Chiwo. Teacher, Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly pure and complete Buddha, all-knowing, having poise, Sugata, apprehender of the world, navigator of beings to be subdued, incomparable, teacher of gods and humans, to the Buddha, the Bhagawan, the glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, we prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Sangha danso ti janala jancha badu dani jatsu ji Dadi jinso di pezonati Jala pendi sanji Tripajo. To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened. Through the merit of my generosity and so on, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened. Through the merit of my generosity and so on, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. This ground, anointed with perfume and strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, the 4 continents, adorned with sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered thus, May all beings enjoy such pure lands. I prostrate my three doors with a mind of respect and offer all actually arranged and mentally emanated offerings. I reveal all the downfalls and negativities that I've ever collected and rejoice in the virtues of individuals and superiors. Please remain perfectly abiding until samsara is no longer seen. I request you to turn the vast and profound wheels of Dharma. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. Body born from 1,000,000 magnificent excellent virtues, speech fulfilling the hopes of infinite beings, a mind that sees all objects of knowledge precisely, I bow my head to the chief among the Shakyas. Supreme sons of the incomparable teacher, carrying the load of all the conqueror's deeds, by their emanations appearing in countless realms, I prostrate to Maitreya and Manjushri. The mother of conquerors is difficult to fathom. The precise thought is in commentaries written by Jambavipa's ornaments, Nagarjuna and Asanga. I prostrate at the feet of those most renowned in the three realms. From these two great chariots come the excellent lineages of the paths of profound view and vast deeds. Their essential points gathered thoroughly and without fault. Prostration to the lamp holding this treasure of instruction. Giving explanation through compassion, by seeing precisely and completely the essential points of all paths of Sutra and Tantra. Holder of the conqueror's entire holy Dharma. Prostrations to the glorious Losang-Drakpa. I, seen all the infinite teachings, supreme way of crossing for those entering the journey to liberation. Moved by compassion to deeds skilled in method. Prostrations to the spiritual masters who make everything clear. And then the prayer of the path to enlightenment. The kind master is the basis of all qualities, and proper reliance is the root of the path. By seeing this excellence and through much striving, bestow blessings to be devoted with great respect. This gentle support of freedom, obtained this one time, is most difficult to achieve. Knowing its great value gives rise to a mind seizing its essence constantly day and night. Bestow blessings to generate this continuum unceasingly. It's like a bubble in water, this constantly moving body and life. Thus remember the swift collapse of death. Beyond death, like body and shadow, white and black karmic results follow after. By gaining firm certainty in this, the mass of faults, subtle and very subtle, are abandoned, and the accomplishment of all virtuous collections completed. Bestow blessings to ever attain conscientiousness. The qualities of samsara are unfit to be trusted, the door to all suffering. Do not be content with these enjoyments. By knowing its defects, bestow blessings to develop a great aspiration for the bliss of liberation. By that pure thought, great conscientiousness is drawn forth, and mindfulness and awareness of the individual liberation, the root of the teachings. Bestow blessings to make this the essential practice. Just as I myself have fallen into samsara's ocean, all living beings as mother are also like that. By seeing the responsibility for the liberation of beings, bestow blessings to be trained with supreme bodhicitta. However, by merely generating the mind, if not acquainted with the three aspects of ethics, enlightenment will not be attained. By seeing this excellence, bestow blessings to train with strong effort in the vows of the conqueror's sons. Pacifying distraction toward perverse objects, by way of proper analysis of the perfect meaning, bestow blessings to swiftly and continuously generate the path related to the union of calm abiding and special insight, thus becoming a vessel trained to the common paths and to the Vajrayana, supreme evolution of all vehicles. Bestow blessings to engage the easy path itself, that sacred way of crossing for fortunate beings. The base of practice for the two aspects of attainment is when guarding the pure vows of commitment is found to be genuine and certain. Bestow blessings to protect them even at risk of life. and by understanding properly the important points, which are the essence of the 2 stages of the Tantra classes, bestow blessings to practice according to these holy teachings with continuous effort in the Supreme 4-Session Yoga. Like that, may the spiritual friends revealing the gentle path and friends of proper practice stand firm. Bestow blessings to quickly pacify the masses of outer and inner hindrances. In all rebirths may I never be parted from perfect gurus and the enjoyment of the glorious Dharma. By utterly completing all qualities, paths and grounds, may I quickly achieve the state of Vajradhara. Okay. Don't worry, it's not COVID. I've just come in from the garden and it's hay fever time with the cypress trees at the moment. All right, so we'll start off with some meditation. And I thought this week we could meditate on the antidotes to the laziness of procrastination, which we looked at during the last session. And according to Lama Tsongkhapa, his great exposition, he presents three antidotes to this laziness of engaging the Dharma, which we all, to some degree, suffer from. So, sitting in meditation posture and getting the body comfortable and relaxing, letting go of any tension. If we like, focusing on the out-breath as we release any mental preoccupation or any tension with each out-breath. And then generating the aspiration for enlightenment, pure Mahayana motivation, the supreme motivation for spiritual practice in order to benefit all living beings without exception and free them from all the difficulties of psychic existence, being bound by karma and delusion and endless forms of suffering. Then we determine to attain our highest potential, realize the pure nature of your mind, your Buddha nature, your Tathagata essence, in order to benefit all living beings without exception. And for that reason, we'll practice the perfection of joyous effort today. So stabilize for a few minutes on this motivation of bodhicitta. And then because our life is limited in its duration, and for many of us, the majority of our life is behind us, we need to practice Dharma and are obstructed from doing so by our laziness of procrastination, putting it off, always finding other things to do. So Lord Tsongkhapa presented 3 antidotes to this laziness. The first is to recognize that our present body is rapidly disintegrating. So we can focus. Think of yourself when you're a baby and when you're a toddler or a child. And imagine you were shown then the photo of yourself now. And told this is what's coming your way. So we can see since then our bodies transformed from that perfect, youthful state. It's step by step. We've lost our spring. The ease of jumping out of bed without any aches. We might have lost some of our acuity of eyesight or hearing. Hard to imagine sprinting 100 meters now. And even if we've had cosmetic surgery, our DNA is old and getting older. So with every cell replication, the DNA ages a little bit. Bits drop off, little bits change shape. And so it expresses now as a much older body. So our body is rapidly disintegrating. The second point Lord Tsongkhapa said to contemplate is that our next life, it's possible we might experience the lower realms. There's no guarantee your life is always going to be like it is now, or like it has been this life. So many beings are trapped in the animal realms without control over their life. And for example, if you have the good fortune as an animal to be someone's pet rather than in the wild, you still no control. Same horrible biscuits or same tin of meat, day after day after day. People wanting to pat you when you don't want to be patted. But of course, the animal realms in the wild, we may be eaten alive or have to hunt and kill others for food. And no capacity to reflect on mind, to develop one's mind. And the third point Lord Tsongkhapa makes to overcome our procrastination is it's difficult to find such an excellent life as this one. So extraordinary good conditions, in an open society where we can study Dharma. And there's access to this lineage, or to various lineages of spiritual teachings. And we've got the intelligence and the curiosity to study the mind. And so, because our body is disintegrating, because next life may not be a good rebirth if we don't practice, and because this present life is such an excellent opportunity, we determine to engage the Dharma. And not procrastinate. We can stabilize on that commitment. And we can finish the meditation. So now we're still on the perfection of joyous effort, starting on page 737 of the Path to Enlightenment. It's the fourth of the six perfections. So we've looked at perfection of generosity, perfection of ethics, perfection of patience, and now we're looking at this perfection of joyous effort. So last session we looked at the definition of joyous effort, a mental factor or part of the mind that takes delight in virtue. So an enthusiasm, a natural delight or enthusiasm for Dharma and for helping others, so for virtue. And when it's conjoined with bodhicitta, it becomes a perfection of joyous effort. And Chandrakirti called that ground the radiant. And that bodhisattva is called the radiant. So we also looked at how it's, in order to practice virtue consistently, generally requires effort. With negativity, there tends to be less effort required. We can go on a binge, go on a blinder, and we don't have to make effort. But with virtue, we have to make effort. And to make effort consistently and long term, we need to enjoy it. So we had a bit of look at that. And we had a brief look at some of the benefits of joyous effort. So quoting from page 740, Chandrakirti said, "All qualities follow from effort. Cause of the two collections of merit and wisdom, the ground where effort flames is the fourth, the radiant." And Conqueror Maitreya said effort is the supreme virtue because it's the cause of all others. So definitely worth us putting a bit of time in on this one. So bodhisattvas with joyous effort, with the actual attainment or realization of joyous effort, are working consistently, unendingly for living beings. So we see examples in the life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, or in the life of Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, where it's an unending, continuous stream of effort for furthering the Dharma, benefiting other living beings, and so on. So, and Geshe gave suggested we need to practice like a gently flowing river, a peacefully, smoothly flowing river, not stop-start, not flooding, not sort of crazy rapids and then nothing, but smoothly, gently, continuously practicing, not pushing too hard, otherwise our mind crashes, and not pushing, not trying, because then we get no change, no development. So, and Geshe also said, not mixing our Dharma practice with negativity. So we need to try and do that. Then we started looking at removing the hindrances to joyous effort, and saw that the main obstacle to joyous effort is laziness, and laziness being the mind that knows what the causes of well-being and happiness is, but for some reason doesn't want to engage them, or if it wants to engage, but very weakly. So that obstructs us from engaging in virtue. And so the three types of laziness that we need to dispel is the laziness of procrastination, laziness of attraction to meaningless activity, and laziness of thoughts of incapacity or inability or inadequacy at engaging the Dharma. So last week, as I say, we looked at last session, the laziness of procrastination. And I mentioned those in that meditation we've just done, the three antidotes that Lama Tsongkhapa gives. That the first one is becoming acquainted with our impermanence, that our body, our physical form, is changing dramatically and rapidly, and so soon we'll change to a state of we'll die. It won't be able to sustain this life. And that secondly, we can't guarantee our future life will be as nice as this one or as good as this one, as good opportunities, because it depends on our karma, on our actions, and on our mind. What will our mind project for our next rebirth? And the third point, the difficulty finding such an excellent life as this one. So scary thought, like I said, you might end up being someone's pet dog who the owner endlessly wants to pet you. And that could be quite annoying at times. Or you might even end up as Johnny Depp's dog, and it'll upset Barnaby Joyce and so on. So not very good. So the next type of laziness we're going to look at, and again, it's one we probably everyone has, is laziness of attraction to meaningless activity. So we could question what is meaningless. How do you define whether something's meaningless? Because different people derive meaning from different things. So just generally speaking, not necessarily Dharma speaking, but generally speaking. So, for example, this in Melbourne, we've got this COVID-19 lockdown at the moment. Lots of people are restricted, having to work at home, stay at home. And for some people, the meaning of that to some people, if you've a tendency to be a keen meditator or an actual yogi, then it's an ideal opportunity to be quietly at home, practicing the path to enlightenment. So that can be very meaningful. But if you're a teenager and you're stuck at home with your family, and you're going through the phase where everything your parents does is annoying or wrong, then it's very different meaning. That lockdown holds a very different meaning. And the same in this temple. You come in this temple, unfortunately I can't swing the camera around, but it's just full of beautiful images of enlightenment, so the various lineage masters and the various Buddhas. For example, Konkrama Maitreya and Manjushri and White Tara and Medicine Buddha and so on. Well, seeing this Buddha statue behind me, then people derive very different meaning from it. So those with antipathy to religion would see it as meaningless or nonsensical, or even may see it as all religion is poison, such as Chairman Mao. He made that statement one time. Whereas a Dharma practitioner, then when they see these images and the statue of the Buddha, then it brightens the mind. It sort of illuminates your own Buddha potential, and it establishes a connection, enables you to establish a connection to the founding Buddha, Buddha Shakyamuni, and ripens our potential. In Star Trek language, you can even regard it as like a portal to connect to the enlightened beings. So it's an extraordinary thing. So again, very different meaning. So I think generally in Buddhism, meaning is determined by maybe a couple of things. The motivation that we engage in an action can determine the meaning of whether it's meaningful or not. and also the outcome of the action. So, for example, the motivation of bodhicitta, this aspiring for enlightenment from your heart, this sort of yearning or aspiration for enlightenment, for peace and liberation and capacity to benefit others in order to benefit all living beings, then that motivation, any action that's carried out with that motivation, then becomes a cause of your enlightenment, no matter how small the action. So it can just be saying hello to someone, or giving a grain of rice to a bird, or just one thought. I hope that person's suffering is overcome. And you do that with bodhicitta, then extraordinarily meaningful, powerful, and the outcome is enlightenment. So So we can question. We say we're Mahayana practitioners, and that's our aspiration, bodhicitta. But we can actually question what does motivate you in your Dharma practice. Why do you sit down and try and study or meditate? What is it that drives you to do that? And probably, if most of us are honest, as we're not bodhisattvas, then there's a bit of a mixture of motives going on. So maybe that I enjoy the feeling of being peaceful, being comfortable. Maybe I feel more secure associated. Like one of the two main causes of refuge is generating a healthy fear of the lower realms, or a fear of samsara, or a fear of all living beings suffering. So maybe that's motivating also to sit down. Or maybe it's pride that, in your Dharma practice, whatever it is. But ideally, we can cultivate this Mahayana motivations, this pure good heart of bodhicitta. So the path to enlightenment says that acts of psychic existence are motivated by non-virtue. So they're mostly motivated by the 8 worldly dharmas, like sort of desiring pleasure, or wishing to be free of pain, or desiring respect, or wishing to be free of criticism, and so on. And so many of the things we do day to day are not motivated by bodhicitta. They're not really Dharma actions. Like I've got a bit of a habit of checking my phone for the news again and again, looking at a bit of a newsaholic. So that's just that's probably a fairly meaningless activity. Or television addiction, or footy addiction, or attraction to gossip. So, not just gossip about what you saw, but gossip relaying what someone else said about what they saw. And then she said, then he said, then she said, and so on. Or the celebrity lather that so many people work themselves up into. That's probably would be classified as fairly meaningless, attachment to people because they're famous. And you see it all the time, like on television, when Ellen walks into the studio and says something fairly inane and everyone goes berserk, or Oprah, or whoever the current chat show superstars are, Kim Kardashian, and also for Buddhists, I know there's many people ostensibly are going to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama, but really they're hoping to catch a glimpse of Richard Gere. So then it becomes a less meaningful. A couple of people have mentioned that, their infatuation with Richard Gere. Anyway, what can you do? So, our activities of worrying, or activities of competition, or drinking, or smoking, or cheating, or lying, fighting, gambling, and so on and so on. And with politics, poll-driven politics, then you can see the motivation there is often not that meaningful. Or, for example, President Trump, I think it was Washington Post did fact-checking of his major statements, and last year there was 8 mistruths per day. So that's sort of lying to retain power, or is not what is called a meaningful activity. Or authoritarian actions by, some of these more dictatorial states, then again, that clinging to power, sort of not really understanding what underlies this clinging or attachment to power, and so the amount of misery it causes to other living beings, again, is, I think by these standards, is a meaningless activity. Well, we can be working really hard in our life, incredibly hard, but again, it's according to the path to enlightenment, it's a meaningless activity. If you're getting up at the crack of dawn and going out in the middle of winter onto a frozen lake and practicing your ice skating for 8 hours to become the best ice skater in the world, then that's one of the 8 worldly dharmas. It's you're working incredibly hard, incredibly disciplined, but from Buddhist viewpoint, you're lazy because you're engaging in the laziness of attraction to meaningless activity. You're not, So, you're not engaging in something that's going to get you out of samsara, the endless cycle of suffering, or get you to enlightenment, or be a major benefit to other living beings. So, So the disadvantage of that laziness is Dharma can appear to be an obstacle to enjoying yourself. So whether you're studying or you're doing some meditation, you're secretly thinking, I might just rush through this sadhana, through these prayers, because days of our lives is about to start. And this Dharma is just getting in my way of me enjoying myself. Or on retreat, often on retreat when the going gets a little tough, then you're hanging out for the break, because in the break you can rush off and gobble some chocolate and drink tea and have a good yak. So again, it's the Dharma practice of meditating appears as an obstacle to enjoying oneself. So another disadvantage is it takes up all our time, takes up our energy, and binds us through habit energy and through karma. It binds us more and more securely to psychic existence, to worldly existence, to obscuring what is pure Dharma, what is the main vision. And it dissipates our Dharma energy step by step if we get too caught up in worldly stuff. So I think Prabhupada said it's like a moth is attracted to a flame, and we're attracted to meaningless activity. So the moth sees the bright light and the flame and thinks great, and heads over there and burns its wings. And so that can be the same with our attraction to lots of worldly things. Can just take up our time, or they can be sort of destructive. Like there was a guy in the paper last week who started off sports betting, and before he knew it, he was $8 million in debt through getting going on this meaningless activity, betting on his phone. Yeah, or we can end up with lung cancer or something through attraction to smoking or so on, or obesity and diabetes through attraction to gobbling thick shakes and mega burgers and things. So, yeah. And it can also cause us to give up the Dharma if we're influenced by others and we really, yeah. So even people who've been close to an extraordinary Dharma practitioner, holy being, such as Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, then can spend many years with such a profound influence, like the most unimaginably profound influence on their lives, and then drift away, either while Geshe was alive or after he's passed, and and just sort of let it go and get stuck into just normal stuff, and the Dharma energy dissipates. So the antidotes presented in the Path to Enlightenment is first of all reflecting at the time of death. Reflect on the time of death. We don't want to have what Geshe called an empty hand. We don't want to be heading towards death with an empty hand. We don't want to sort of build a house of cards and realize all these things, all my friends and my electronic gadgets and my house and my, beautiful property and my German car. I'm being separated from all of that. And I'm on my own, and I've got an empty hand. I've got nothing, no inner resources. We don't want to be singing the Bee Gees song, Tragedy. Tragedy? I won't attempt to get up there, but we don't want to go into our death process with no resources. So the antidote, we look at the consequences of negative karma and meditate the consequences of negative karma and delusion, and focus on the generating renunciation. So renunciation of psychic existence, renunciation of the suffering and its causes, which is that delusion and negative karma, saying we've had enough of that. So the renunciation, like the lotus flower arising from a swamp, a beautiful, pure, clean lotus flower. So that mind of renunciation arising from the swamp of recognizing all the various different types of suffering, and in particular pervasive suffering, that we're always have some degree of unsatisfactoriness, no matter even in good situations. There's some sort of level of physical tension or mental tension and so on. So that motivates us away from meaningless activity. And also the Path to Enlightenment says, also again, recognizing how rare and precious this birth of leisure and fortune is. That we don't want to we don't want to spend our life, what's the term? Having no essence. We need to extract the essence from this excellent birth of leisure and fortune. And extracting the essence, we do that through connecting through the three jewels. So the Holy Buddha, Holy Dharma, and the Holy Sangha. And particularly the Holy Dharma, we try and pervade our mind with the Dharma, let it actually seep into our mind and affect our mind and how we are and who we are and so on. So we extract the essence of this extraordinary opportunity we've had, particularly the opportunity with Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden. We've had a remarkable opportunity there, and the opportunity with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and so on. And then Geshe also points out that we've got in our lives, a lot of us live very busy lives, and with so much time traveling to work and working, then time cooking, time cleaning, time paying your bills, running around shopping and fixing things and this and that and the other, time relaxing, watching TV, but there's not actually much time that you have left. You don't actually have much time to choose what to do with. So you can choose, I'll engage in meaningless activities that have no power and no energy, or I can try and spend a bit more time engaging the Dharma, maybe just opening one of these extraordinary books, Path to Enlightenment, or one of any of other Geshe's 9 extraordinary books, or books by His Holiness, for example. Then we're doing something meaningful, and we can rejoice and encourage ourselves with that, because we haven't surrendered that time, that limited time. So, there's endless things we can do, the Path to Enlightenment explains, but we have to identify with our own wisdom what's most beneficial. So not just taking the word of the Buddha or the word of Geshe, but identify for yourself what actually would be most beneficial with your time. And identifying that, as Shantideva said, our best supporter, our best friend, our best protector is listening to the Dharma, thinking about the Dharma, meditating on the Dharma, practicing the Dharma. That's our best protection. And it supports us. Our Dharma wisdom supports us in this life, making the best of everything. And it definitely supports in the future, going into the death process. So Lama Tsongkhapa quotes in the Great Exposition on this section, How to Overcome Meaningless Activity, he quotes Shantideva, peerless master, great scholar Shantideva, who said, "How could you abandon the source of infinite joy, the highest of pleasures, the sublime teaching, and delight in distraction and amusements that are the cause of suffering?" And then Lama Tsongkhapa comments, he says, "You see that the sublime teaching is the source of endless joy, and that you lose its great purpose when you are distracted in idle chatter and amusements, which are the source of much pointless suffering later." Or to simplify things, Geshe said many times, in terms of what's meaningful, then if you practice Dharma, if you help others, if you more support others and more look after others, then your life is useful, worthwhile, and meaningful. So that's very, very simple. Practice Dharma, and we have to do more to look after each other. So that's the second laziness. The third laziness is called the laziness of inadequacy, laziness of thoughts of incapacity. Sometimes it's described as defeatism, the thought. So it's sometimes it's sort of conscious belief about yourself, or it might be subliminal beliefs about oneself, that about our capability or our lack of capability to practice the Dharma. So we might have a sense of quite a strong sense of underneath of who we are and how limited we are. So So there's a sense I can't, for example, I can't concentrate. I've tried concentrating. I've tried meditating. I'm always distracted. I never improve. I can't do it. And or I can't practice patience. I'm just finding I'm getting older and grumpier and more impatient as I get older. And I can't imagine having patience for the perfection of patience. I can't extend my patience towards my wife or my husband because they're so annoying. They say that same thing again and again, or they do that same thing. It's so irritating. They chomp with their mouth open or whatever it is. I can't practice patience. Or, I can't practice the path to enlightenment. I'm not capable. It's for spiritual beings. I'm pretty ordinary. Or bodhicitta's unreal. I can't ever imagine having that wish, And how could you possibly wish for that? And maybe some psychologists might say, well, that's quite a fairly valid question. Wishing for wishing for perfection, so you can save all living all living beings, is a pretty big ask. But so some people might say, well, that's lunacy. That's lunacy. But it's through not recognizing. It's true. It's a vast ask to try and perfect one's mind and to benefit all living beings, develop that capacity to develop all living beings. But it's because we don't recognize the vastness of our Buddha potential that it seems absurd, that the nature of the mind is completely pure and unlimited in its capacity. So there's that sense that it's not me. I'm not a spiritual person. I'm really a no good. I've been told when I was young I'm no good, and I'm really no good. Or I'm too old, or I'm too busy, or I'm too ordinary, I'm too stupid, it's too complicated. So these thoughts of incapacity or being defeated before you even really start. So it's an easy way out. Easy way out. You say, I can't, then, and if you do that, then you can't fail because you're not attempting to do it, and you can hope someone else will do it for you. But unfortunately, it's not the easy way out of suffering and the easy way out of samsara. If it was, I'd be on board in a flash. Just saying I can't practice isn't a way out. We're still stuck with our mind, with our dissatisfaction, with our upsets, with our anger, our irritability, and so on, our worry. So it said that doubt increases, that sense of discouragement is amplified if we have doubt in the Dharma. So if we question the existence of Buddhas or enlightenment, if we don't really believe that, or we question, the state of enlightenment or the possibility of single-pointed concentration. I don't really believe someone can sit there for an hour with perfect concentration without distraction. Then that doubt, when things get more difficult, then that doubt sort of feeds that sense of incapacity and we give up. So the value of a qualified guru is very enormously beneficial. That's one of the things the Guru does for us, apart from showing us the path and our capacity, he actually illustrates these enlightened qualities, that this isn't just a textbook thing. Enlightenment's not a textbook thing. Great compassion's not a textbook thing. Great patience isn't, So, for example, living with Geshe for so many years, many of us were given that gift, that it helps to dispel doubt that these things actually are doable or exist. And the same when people become closer to His Holiness, then so many people are inspired that, this enlightenment's a doable thing. So, there's one example given of a pond. If a pond is covered in scum, then it can't, the green or blue-green algae or just yucky gunk on the pond, then I went canoeing in the Werribee River one time, and the size of the big things floating in there was quite shocking. But anyway, back to this pond covered in scum, it can't reflect. If there's a beautiful full moon and a clear night, then the pond covered in scum can't reflect that full moon. And in the same way, our mind can't see the Buddhas. There's Buddhas everywhere. Apparently, there's Buddhas everywhere. And enlightened beings, there's bodhisattvas everywhere. But because we're not like pond scum, but we're like the pond covered in scum, then we're obscured from seeing this purity, this enlightenment. We're, similar to how a Sangha was obscured from seeing Maitreya, even though Maitreya was there all the time. So, So the antidote, what's the antidote to this thoughts of incapacity? All of us at some level have this laziness. We might just accept, I'm just no good at that Dharma stuff or some aspect. So Geshe said we need courage. We need courage. We need the antidote. One antidote is courage. One is reality. So to deal with reality rather than our fantasy of incapacity is to deal with reality. And then we can practice joyous effort. So Geshe said, abandon being weak. This saying, I can't, is just a weak mind. And we can just consciously decide, I'm not going to be weak. I'm going to say I can. And I can't doesn't support us. It doesn't alleviate suffering. So we need the courage to challenge ourselves, challenge these beliefs we've got about ourselves and our limits, or whether they're subliminal or we're fully conscious and we verbalize them and joke about them. I'll never understand emptiness, that's for something more elevated, monks can do that, but I can't understand emptiness. So that sort of mentality, we might just accept that after a few years of Dharma practice, that becomes embedded. So we need to become more realistic and recognize our potential, recognize our capacity. So we can see we've actually got all inner and outer conditions that are required for practicing the path to enlightenment. So we've mentioned this birth of leisure and fortune, this extraordinary thing we've got right now, you've got right now, here and now, with intelligent mind, access to the Dharma. There's been this amazing lineage of teaching from the Buddha all the way unbroken through to Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden and they transmitted it into these 9 extraordinary texts, completely pure Dharma, and there's no government, oppressive government stopping us studying. There's no limits with our physical state. We're not an animal, and we're fortunate enough to not be in a poverty-stricken nation, so we might have some time where we can actually engage Dharma. So leisure and fortune, we've got those conditions. It's amazing. We can also look at the nature of the mind. The ultimate nature of the mind is its emptiness. So you think you've got a mind. My mind's like this. My mind's like that. But we see through studying the nature of reality, we see that's merely designated upon moments of mind, upon its parts. It's a mere designation. It's empty of being inherently existent. And that emptiness means the mind has no inherent limits. It's unlimited, unbounded. And it means development is possible. This unbounded development of bodhicitta to enlightenment, embracing all living beings. So that's the ultimate nature of mind. And then the conventional nature of mind is that it is, firstly, it's impermanent, so it will change, and it can change step by step by step into the mind of a bodhisattva and step by step into the mind of a Buddha. And secondly, it's the nature of awareness is that it's clear and knowing. So clarity and awareness, these are the nature of mind. And similar to the sky, that the vastness of the sky may be obscured by clouds, but the nature of the sky is not changed. And so the same with our minds. We're obscured by all our meaningless activities and habits, but the actual nature of the mind is absolute clarity. And that clarity allows things to appear to mind, and awareness, simple knowing. So that allows us to traverse the path as well. Geshe gave a very good example why we should have confidence. One time when he was teaching fundamental potential, he said a baby doesn't know anything. For example, it doesn't even know a fire is hot. So it might walk over to a fire. If you don't protect it, the baby, and restrain it, it'll burn itself. It's got just no basic knowledge. And as a baby, you were like that. But now look at how much you know compared to that baby state. Look at how much you've learned, whether it's through study, you might have going to school or university or degree or even PhD, or whether it's practical things, the sort of endless skills that you've picked up through life, whether it's cooking or various types of cooking skills or whatever, fixing a car or knowing how to garden or, so much that we've learned about the world around us. And so that's proof of the mind's capacity to learn, just step by step, just develop. So So again, Lama Tsongkhapa, again to help us overcome the sorts of incapacity, Lama Tsongkhapa quotes Shantideva again. And Shantideva said, he quotes the Buddha. So I'm quoting Lama Tsongkhapa, who's quoting Shantideva, who's quoting the Buddha. he said, the Buddha said, even flies and worms will attain unsurpassed enlightenment, so hard to attain, once they develop the power of perseverance. So, so cause leads to result. With the power of perseverance, we step by step creating the causes of developing the mind, of developing our compassion, and so on. And that leads to result. So cause and result is reliable. That can give us confidence as well. The cause always leads to result. If you get the causes of an omelette, you'll end up with an omelette. You can't get the causes of an omelette and not end up with an omelette. Because all the causes and conditions are there. So the same way with practicing the path to enlightenment. If you walk to the shop step by step, every step is a cause of getting to that shop. And the same with great compassion has causes. Path to enlightenment has causes. And it's said the three jewels, one of the distinctive things about the three jewels are they're non-deceptive. So they're valid causes for the results that they espouse. They're the correct causes, they're the actual causes, they're non-deceptive. So whereas most things in samsara are long-term not reliable because of separation and people dying and so on, or our happiness in doing a particular thing we get bored with it. Whereas the three jewels are said to be non-deceptive. The Dharma is non-deceptive. So then we can get confidence again in that. And we can gain confidence that why did the Buddha teach 84,000 Dharmas? Why did Lama Tsongkhapa, why did he teach the great exposition of the stages of the path to enlightenment and two other path to enlightenments? And why did Geshe write 9 texts? And in particular, why did Geshe write this path to enlightenment in Tibetan Buddhism and the meditations on the path and the essence of the path if we don't have capacity? Why was he encouraging us continuously to practice these things if we don't have capacity? So we do have capacity. We do have if we create the causes. So Geshe said he said many times, we need to practice courage, method, and wisdom. So method, the two wings on the path to enlightenment, the method lineage and the wisdom lineage, so the extensive stages of the path and the profound stages of the path. But as well as method and wisdom, Geshe said we need courage. So that's the antidote to these thoughts of incapacity. We need the courage to practice this method and wisdom. So, and abandon our discouragement, even when things get difficult and we're not changing as much as we hoped. Then we need to pep ourselves up, abandon discouragement, and find a strength of purpose. That's a really good phrase, isn't it? Strength of purpose, because you can imagine, having people who have a purpose, they have a strength, and if the purpose is particularly meaningful, then it gives people more and more strength. For example, Mahatma Gandhi gained this. Reading his biography, he was quite shy when he was young, but he overcame that because of the purpose, and ended up speaking to millions of people, and freeing India through peaceful methods. So strength of purpose. With regards to bodhicitta, there is no more profound or more wonderful purpose. So if we can develop our bodhicitta, we will gain that strength of purpose and overcome any sense of inadequacy or defeatism. Yeah, Geshe makes in a section is that all holy beings were deluded, just like ourselves. So we can gain encouragement from that. That all holy beings, they had the same stupid worries that I've got, the same impatience that I've got, the same nasty thoughts or selfishness or whatever, the same sense of incapacity in previous lives. Shakyamuni Buddha, when he was in samsara, then the same issues, exactly the same issues. We've all got the same issues. We're all in samsara, bound by ignorance, and from that, bound by self-cherishing, and from that, the 3 root delusions and the 6 root delusions and so on. So we can gain encouragement. The only difference between ourselves and bodhisattvas and Buddhas was they found this, they practiced joyous effort. We practiced defeatism and they practiced joyous effort. They found their courage. So, it said bodhisattvas are never discouraged. And you hear sometimes His Holiness say, until samsara ends. And I think that's a quote from Shantideva, also the great master, Bodhisattva Shantideva. Until the end of samsara, I'll always be there serving sentient beings. So that's the commitment, that's the purpose. So again, I'll quote again from the Lama Tsongkhapa's great exposition of the stages of the path, which is the sort of, the blueprint for all these extensive graduated path texts. He said, and he's quoting against Shantideva, he said, since sin is eliminated, there is no suffering. Through knowledge, there is no lack of joy. Misconceptions and sin harm the mind and body. Through merit, the body is blissful. Through knowledge, the mind is too. Through remaining in psychic existence for others' welfare, why should the compassionate ones be disheartened? Thus, after mounting the steed of the Enlightenment spirit, which dispels all dejection and fatigue, you proceed from joy to joy. What sensible person would become discouraged? And Nagarjuna in the Precious Garland said, so do not be discouraged thinking Buddhahood is far away. Always strive at these collections so as to eliminate fault and gain good qualities. So with bodhicitta, then everything in our practice will become easy. We won't have anxiety or fear about how much, what practicing Dharma, what it entails and how it's going to take away from, other things I want to do and so on and so on. We'll have realized this extraordinary purpose, the most meaningful, and and so we'd have that strength of purpose, founded in truth and founded in, what's extraordinarily beneficial. So Nagarjuna in the Precious Garland said, they constantly accumulate merit, as limitless as living beings. Talking about bodhisattvas. They constantly accumulate merit as limitless as living beings. For beings are without limit. Because of the limitless of this, that the limitless Buddhahood is not hard to gain. So because of the limitlessness of this, the limitless merit you gain, because living beings are limitless, and you're acting with bodhicitta, acting on behalf of all living beings, then the limitless Buddhahood is not hard to gain, according to Nagarjuna. So the absolute key to the path, the gateway to the Mahayana, and the way to make sure everything we do in our practice is a cause of our enlightenment, is this bodhicitta. So we need to mount the steed of the enlightenment spirit, which dispels all dejection and fatigue, and proceed from joy to joy. So that sounds pretty good. Yeah. Might give it a go. So I probably we might finish here. The next section on joyous effort is cultivating the merit to nourish joyous effort. And again, this is drawn from Shantideva's engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds. So the four forces that support joyous effort are, first of all, aspiration, and then steadiness, and then joy, and then discarding or rest. So it's a fantastic chapter in engaging in Bodhisattva deeds on this one. But and Geshe's given quite a commentary on those, and he orally he gave a huge amount of commentary on these ones. So we'll look at those four forces next week to infuse our joyous effort. Yes. So okay, we'll just finish off with the prayers. Prayers for the I think it's page 31. If anyone hasn't got the prayers, they can email contact@tushita.org, and we'll email out the prayers to you. So the final prayer of the graduated path. By the two collections vast as space, amassed with effort for a long time, may I become a chief of conquerors, a guide for all beings whose mind's eye is blinded by ignorance. Also in all lives while not yet come to that, may Manjushri favour me with his compassion, finding the supreme path, complete with all stages of the teachings. May I please the conquerors by practicing well, by my precise understanding of the essential points of the path, with skillful means drawn along by strong compassion, and by dispelling the mental darkness of beings. May I uphold the conqueror's teaching for a long time, where the supreme precious teaching has not spread, also where it has spread but become degenerate, with a mind deeply moved by great compassion, may I make clear this treasure of benefit and bliss. The stages of the path excellently established by the marvelous deeds of the conquerors and their sons, give glory to the minds of those aspiring for liberation. May the conqueror's deeds be long preserved. May all humans and non-humans who remove the obstructions and establish conditions favourable to cultivating the excellent path never be parted for all of their lifetimes from the purest of paths which the Buddhas have praised. When someone makes effort to practice properly the 10 points of conduct of the Supreme Vehicle, may he always be assisted by the mighty protectors, and may oceans of good fortune spread out, reaching all. And the special dedication prayer on page 34. Tita gipi nanta divaya, tuzan deshi shitan chiti, zipahamuna maludrupada, nanto da jozin pedurun, Te tu lezera tu choto lojita midrajim. Ni chon transcendent taktavada. Whatever white virtues we have thus created, we dedicate as causes, enabling us to uphold the holy Dharma of Scripture and realization, and to fulfill without exception the prayers and deeds of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the three times. By the power of this merit in all our lives, may we never be parted from the four wheels of the Mahayana, and may we complete the journey on the paths of renunciation, bodhicitta, pure view, and the two stages. By this virtue, may all beings complete the collections of wisdom and merit, and attain the two holy bodies arisen from wisdom and merit. May the precious superior mind of enlightenment be generated in those who have not yet generated it, and not decrease in those who have developed it, but increase continuously. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And same again next week. If there's any questions, feel free to send them in. And that's it. Unfortunately, I can't invite you to come to the garden now because we're all in lockdown, and it's our busy time with rose pruning and salvia pruning. But I know some of the garden oddbods are listening, so we finished the rose circle and we've started on the temple roses. So, yeah.